month, we're going to explore a whole new concept, and that's hybrid communication. What if your CEO approached you tomorrow and mandated that you pick up a new communication solution to replace your current one? Or worse yet, what if your current communication solution was completely down or failed and you had to make a quick decision? What would you do? Well, in the essence, as a unified communications integrator like Inflow, we've also had to wrestle these same decisions. 2 years ago, I was approached with some executives from a unified communications manufacturer that I won't mention, and told me that I had to completely restructure my company. I had to stop selling on-site or premise-based unified communication solutions, or I'd be out of business in 3 years. I was told to push everything into the cloud. Well, we didn't do that, and we're still here. In fact, we're more successful than ever. That said, we didn't ignore the cloud. And unlike you, we have the ability to work with all kinds of different customers, all kinds of different circumstances, all kinds of different experiences. And so we can bring this experience to you and help guide you in that direction. So really my goal today, and just in general, is to leverage our experiences and exposure to many different circumstances to arm you with the right knowledge to make the right decision. So last, you don't have to pick one model or the other. The industry is at an interesting tipping point right now. It's evolved to a point that, depending on the circumstances, can allow you or permit you to design a solution that's as close to perfect as possible. The agenda today, we're going to do some quick introductions. We'll talk about who I am, my background, Inflow Communications. We'll go through a quick refresh on industry trends and also look at some definitions. A refresh again on really, in the context of this presentation, what is a cloud-based unified communication solution? What is a premise or on-site-based communication solution? So we're going to talk about hybrid communications, and really the best way to explain hybrid communications is to give real-world examples. These are examples that Inflow, our company, has experienced and helped our customers through. And hopefully that'll help paint a better picture as to what hybrid unified communications is. So introductions. This is me. My name is Travis Dillard, and actually in the back there, that's Jenna. So these are actually, we're real people. Jenna's the long blonde hair. Again, my name's Travis, and I have over 20 years in the communications and networking space. And throughout the years, I've worked on the technical, engineering, and operations side, as well as in ownership and sales leadership positions. I took a controlling interest of Inflow Communications in 2009. That's when we narrowed our focus on unified communications, and I haven't looked back. I've been involved with unified communications from the very beginning as we deployed voice over, quote-unquote, voice over data situations. So from back then we were networking legacy phone systems together, legacy digital phone systems together over legacy networks like Frame Relay. So I've been involved with designing, deploying, and supporting multiple forms of communications from Avaya, Toshiba, Cisco, ComDial, and now to what we specialize in today, and that's ShoreTel. So I've seen the industry grow by leaps and bounds, and I equate the current shift that we're dealing with as far as moving cloud moving communications into the cloud now. I equate that to the early days of when people were migrating away from time division multiplex or digital technology into the voice over IP world. And just like today, back then people were also nervous. This was a technology. Was this the technology that was going to stay? Was it stable? Was it everything that it was being advertised? And I'm assuming since you're on this webinar, you're generally being asked those same questions. Inflow Communications, this is our company. This is kind of a busy slide, and I apologize for that. But at the end of the day, if you forget everything about us, this is who we are. We have offices in Seattle, Portland, San Jose, Los Angeles, and now Dallas. We support over 70,000 ShoreTel endpoints globally, and that's across 300 customers. What makes us different is we are absolutely laser focused on unified communications and contact center technologies. So unlike a lot of our competitors, we don't carry multiple lines of products. We're not trying to be your managed IT vendor, your wireless vendor. We're not trying to install cable for you. Every single day, we're just trying to be the best integrator of ShoreTel and contact center products and services in the country. And it's working. We're in ShoreTel's top 5 nationwide as it pertains to customer satisfaction, certifications, and revenue. And we are their absolute top enterprise contact center partner in the globe. So that's a over 700 partners globally. We are their top short-tail contact center partner. All of our engineers are our engineers, project managers, and trainers, account executives. They all have many years in short-tail contact center networking. And regardless if you go on-site or in the cloud, either way, this is an application on your network. So you're going to want to partner with a company that understands networking and understands the network in which this application resides on. And although it's not our brand, we don't market ourselves as a networking company. All of our engineers and all of our support staff are involved with that. Probably the last thing that differentiates us from our competitors and being laser focused is we're pretty maniacal about customer service and partnership. So I've always told my customers that picking the technology, the right features, the buttons, all of that, that's half the battle, but probably more than half the battle is partnering with the right integrator. Unified communications, specifically as it pertains to contact center, is absolutely mission critical. It touches every part of your organization, your customers, your C-level suite, your constituents, your vendors, your owners, everybody. And unlike maybe a network switch that's sitting in the server room, it's absolutely visible. And so we still believe there's always going to be a place for high-quality, premium, unified communication partners like us to help support our customers. And not only help them on the back end after we implement a solution to support it, but also help guide them through decisions like this and help educate them. And that's a mantra of ours, and that's why we're doing presentations and seminars like this. We want to educate our customers and again, bring out all of our experience to the benefit of you. So this just kind of reiterates that last slide. This slide is wrong. We actually have over 30 highly skilled professionals, and we do some things a little different. First of all, upwards of 10% of every single employee's compensation at Inflow is tied to how fast we respond, how quickly we resolve your issues, and what your customer satisfaction is. So we take that, and we also publish that live, unfiltered to our website. So at any time, we know exactly how we're taking care of our customers. This is our email ticket response time. We also have a live contact center. We provide 24/7 support. All of our engineers, all of our admin staff answer within 3 rings during 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And so we're pretty maniacal about taking exceptional care of our customers. And then we take it a step further and put our money where our mouth is. And if we have what's called a world-class customer service guarantee. If every one of our employees has the authority to give a $100 Amazon gift card. If anybody ever feels that we've fallen short of our world-class customer service guarantee, we issue them a $100 gift card on the spot. So we're trying to buck the industry, and we find that this industry is accepted, and unfortunately customers have accepted mediocrity when it comes to providing a true partnership around technology like this. And we believe that through our A-plus players and our laser focus on unified communications, that's why we can do this day in, day out. These are just a few of the customers that we have throughout the West Coast. I'm sure you'll notice a few of these. And so this part's going to be a bit of a refresher on industry trends. We went through this last month. So this is I like this. I like these statistics. It's interesting. So cloud voice over IP and unified communications is growing 30% year over year. Premise voice over IP is declining 6% year over year. So that's generally where a lot of cloud providers will stop. They'll show you those statistics, and you'll feel that, man, I better get on the bus, or I'm going to be a dinosaur. I'm going to be obsolete. Well, here's what they oftentimes don't share with you. So the cloud VoIP or cloud telephony globally represents only $1 billion of market share, where premise still is at $5 billion. So I don't have a crystal ball. Is premise getting thrown out? Is everything going into the cloud? I personally believe that it's equalizing. And analysts do back that up, that within 5 years it's going to be 50-50. So what does that tell us? That tells us that there's a place for both models. What's nice about it, and that's what we're getting into this presentation, you don't have to fit your business into one model or the other. And that's just evolving rapidly, the hybrid unified communication. So definition, this is what we talked about again last month. For the context of this presentation, this is what we're referring to when we talk about a premise or an on-site voice over IP solution. at your network on site, you're going to have local call processing hardware and software. You're going to have local servers running your UC, your Unified Communications applications. Those are going to connect to your network. And then you're going to connect to the outside world, the PSTN, or the public switch telephone network, via dial tone, via SIP trunks, via analog lines, whatever the case is. And then you can connect to remote sites through a private wide area network. You can connect to home users over, say, the public internet. So this is what everybody's probably used to in the traditional sense when it comes to on-site or premise-based communication systems. This is what we're referring to when we talk about cloud-based voice over IP or cloud-based unified communication. In this case, you have no on-site hardware or software, call processing, or unified communications applications. You don't have any connection to local dial tone. Basically, your communication devices connect through what we prefer to be a dedicated connection into the cloud. And what is a cloud provider? Well, that can take a lot of different forms. In this instance, it's a provider that hopefully has redundant data centers, and they have all of the call processing, they have all of the unified communication applications delivered to you from their data centers. And then they, in turn, connect to upstream network providers, and they, in turn, connect to upstream dial tone providers. And so this is usually, whereas premise and on-site communications is usually procured using CapEx or a one-time expense with a support model around it, which is more traditional. With cloud, you're paying monthly. You pay a monthly subscription fee to access the services. Oftentimes, you can buy the handsets or you can rent the handsets. Depends on the customer's need. So this is most likely why everybody's here. What exactly is hybrid communications? What is hybrid unified communication? Well, not to frustrate people, but it really depends. There's a lot of different versions of that. So the best way, again, to describe this is just to go through a couple of real-world examples. These are situations and customers that we've dealt with and that we've helped move into a hybrid world, and then also outline some of the architecture. So this is an example of a real-world customer. This was a lending company down in the Bay Area, very traditional corporate headquarters type setup. They had a call center for their customer service operations. They had some advanced needs. They needed application integration with their CRM system for screen pops and things like that, priority-based routing, database integration. They had some security and compliancy concerns. Their IT staff was located at their corporate office. And so that's generally where I would stop and say, well, that sounds like a pretty good premise-based candidate. They have some more advanced needs. They have a competent IT staff. They need the tools to integrate with third-party applications. They have a contact center that's generally probably mission critical for them. But then here's where they move away from the standard premise-based model. They're growing remote sites rapidly fast. A lot of these sites are smaller retail operations, maybe 5 to 20 handsets, and they're standing these offices up either through acquisition or just organic growth, sometimes as much as 4 to 5 per month. The remote sites had very basic needs. The remote sites had no IT staff, and the remote sites had very simple infrastructure in the way of network and computing power. So that would tell me that I needed that they're a good candidate for the cloud side of things. So what did this cause? This caused a problem. The biggest problem that I saw was the pain it caused the IT staff. There was multiple disparate cloud providers. Basically, the cloud provider that can respond quick enough to a remote office is the one that got the business. And so while they had an on-premise phone system at their corporate office, they were dealing with 5+ cloud providers throughout the country. And they have, I think, about 100 offices at this current time. So this caused a lot of problems. The IT staff was literally spending all of their time trying to manage these cloud providers, trying to project manage turning up these offices to meet the business requirements, and it caused a lot of pain. They had no time to work on anything else. Also, these remote sites became communication islands. So you completely lost all the benefits of unified communication, things like 4 or 5-digit dialing between sites, desktop sharing, instant messaging, video. All of those things went away. And worse yet, there was no standardization on tool sets, meaning if you went from one office to the next, you had to learn a new phone. If they were even using any sort of sophisticated desktop application, they had to learn that too, or basically they just wouldn't use it. And so it caused a lot of problems, and it was painful, and they came to us asking us how exactly they can accomplish the best of both worlds. How can they accomplish their premise needs for their contact center and their compliancy issues and those sorts of things, but how can they outsource everything and start standing up these offices quickly? So this was the solution for us. We replaced the legacy on-site phone system with a ShoreTel Unified Communications system at the corporate office. And actually, this diagram doesn't show it, but we implemented call processing, unified communications applications, and backup dial tone using SIP trunks at their main office and a data center, a privately leased data center that they had. So we made the premise solution, the on-site corporate office, fully redundant. We also installed ShoreTel's enterprise contact center to handle their customer service. And because of that, because it was on-site, that allowed us to tie into their in-house CRM system, so things like I mentioned before, database integration, agent screen pops, things like that. And then we connected their HQ system to our own private cloud system. So ShoreTel or Inflow has a product that we call Unified Communications as a Service. And basically in that model, we own it, and I'll get to this in a few slides, but we own it. The customer doesn't own it. We rent it to our customers on a monthly basis, but we fully outsource all the service and maintenance of the system. So what we did is we tied our cloud-based or our private cloud-based system into their premise-based system, and that allowed us to rapidly roll out remote sites. It provided them a lot of flexibility, and they just did it under a monthly service agreement, and a monthly rental agreement. So when new sites come online, we simply send them the IP handsets, the users, they plug them in, plug in the network, the handsets come up, and immediately they have access to features like 5-digit dialing across sites, a standardized directory between sites, and they have a standardized tool set. Now they can travel between offices and have the same handset, the same desktop tools. All of those things are standardized across all locations. Best of all, it's managed by one provider, us. It's fully outsourced, and it's outsourced to a provider that they trusted, right? So again, when people, as a lot of you out there are probably looking at moving your communications into the cloud, there's probably some apprehension about who's going to support it. And this particular customer wanted us. They knew us. They wanted our premium white glove, sometimes what we consider boutique services. We understood their business. We understood what they were trying to do. We weren't a one-size-fits-all, which is what a lot of cloud providers are, and we weren't a carrier. So again, sometimes carriers have issues supporting an analog phone line, let alone your mission-critical communication system. So they got the best of both worlds. It was an OpEx. They can pay monthly. We roll these things out quickly. We train their users live with our trainers remotely with web-based training. And now we're able to pull this. We're now able to scale this customer very quickly. So it was a really good fit using premise-based technology and using more of a private cloud-based technology. Now, in light of ShoreTel and the way ShoreTel is rolling things out, and I realize this is a bit of not trying to be a commercial on ShoreTel, but it's to use a good example. ShoreTel is the manufacturer that we use. They actually have a cloud-based service. They call it Connect, and they have a premise-based system. And so they're doing the same thing. It's not quite ready, but later on in this year, like this diagram shows, they're going to be able to connect a premise-based system to their cloud-based system, generally with a point-to-point or a dedicated network. And now you can pick and choose. I can have premise at certain sites. I can have cloud at certain sites. There's a lot of different things you can do with that. And so that's called their Connect platform. And people that have any familiarity with ShoreTel, if they need to learn a little bit more about that, then yeah, definitely connect up with us, because there's a lot of caveats around that right now. But we're very excited about that. They definitely see the vision of communications on your terms, which is our big thing. You know, we need to provide unified communications on your terms. So again, that's called ShoreTel Connect, and we can elaborate on that later. So with any of these hybrid communication systems, these are the things to think about. And there's a whole list of things to think about, but these are some of the big ones. And these are some of the things we can help you navigate as you're trying to figure out what makes the most sense for your organization. Support and partnership should be the first things you consider. Don't make that the last thing you consider. Management. How are you going to manage the system? Is it 2 management portals? Is it 1 management portal? How is billing handled, specifically around the cloud side or the monthly subscription side? Is there feature transparency? Things like presence across the site. Can I look at my desktop tool and see that Bob is on a cloud infrastructure at a remote office? Can I see if he's on the phone or off the phone? Inter-site call routing. There's a lot of benefits to this type of technology. Let's say I have a call ring into a remote retail office and they don't answer after 4 rings, we want it to ring back to our customer service call center at the main office, at the headquarters office, so that could be a potential new sale. So we want to make sure we capture that revenue and we don't have these various communication islands where calls don't go anywhere. So understanding feature transparency, inter-site call routing, reporting and business intelligence. Do I have 2 places to go for reporting when I need to know how many calls my salespeople are making, how many inbound calls I'm getting, how do I staff up, those sorts of things. And any design that we put together for our customers, we're always looking at business continuity and disaster recovery. It's funny, a lot of people overlook that when they're looking at any unified communications design. They focus more on their data and when it comes to business continuity and disaster recovery. But this technology has the capability to where I can have a lot of different failure scenarios. What if I lose my connection to the cloud provider? What if I lose connection to my remote office? What if my dial tone goes down? What if my on-site system, hardware, and software components become unavailable? How do I provide failover? Those are all things you need to be considering when you're looking at any sort of communication platform. Application parity, meaning does my corporate office have applications and features that are far superior than those at the remote offices? A good holistic unified communication design delivers tools that people are going to use across the organization, so they're not on these quote-unquote these communication islands. Again, which model is right for you? That depends. The business needs, not just technology for the sake of technology, but you have to align. Obviously, you have to align the technology with the needs of the organization. That's important. Are you growing fast? Are you seasonal? Are you retracting? Does your CFO like CapEx? Do you like OpEx? How mission critical? Do you have a call center? Things like that. Your integrator, again, very, very important. That's half the battle. Who's going to be your partner in this journey? And then the developer of the technology, i.e. the cloud provider that's providing the cloud solution, or the manufacturer of the technology on the back end. Who's going to be designing this technology? And those are all things, again, that we can help you navigate. So now I'm just going to go, that first example I gave you, that was really a true classic example of a hybrid communication. You had sites that were basically on an OpEx, quote-unquote cloud-based model. You had sites that were premise-based. You connected the two, and it was a very classic and fantastic example of a hybrid communication solution. But some of these other examples we're going to give you are examples that people oftentimes don't think about. Here's a customer, for example, that wants to put everything in the cloud. They want to go OpEx. They don't want to have anything on site for the most part. But at the same time, they want to provide a level of disaster recovery and business continuity. If they lose their connection to the cloud provider, they want to still be able to make and take calls. So if you look at this diagram, you'll see a local gateway. And plugged into that local gateway, you'll see local analog lines, or maybe SIP trunks, or maybe a PRI, connecting to the outside world. So if you lose that connection, the 2% of the time, or 1% of the time, hopefully, that you lose that connection to the cloud provider, now you have the ability to make and take calls locally. So that's pretty much a 98% in the cloud and maybe a 2% on-site or on-premise. Here's another example. This is all of your communications is on-site, but you're just subscribing to unified communications in the cloud. This has actually been around for a while, and ShoreTel's done a pretty good job at this, where all of your unified communication servers, your call processing, your dial tone access, all of that resides on-site. But there are specific unified communications applications that can be consumed on an as-needed basis. So a great example, and we have this all the time, customers will approach us and say, hey, we've got 10 of our C-level staff, or we've got a very small amount of users, maybe 10 or 20 out of the 500 users that we have, that want a very specific application, whether that's fax server, or whether that's a speech-to-text transcribing solution, whether it's a mobility solution, perhaps a basic contact center for a tech support group. And they'll ask us to quote out a project. We need to quote out hardware and software and professional services, and it's going to cost this much money, and it's going to require this, these project management capabilities. But it's really, again, for 10 users. So this is a great situation for a customer that, okay, this is maybe 95% on-site or premise, but 5% in the cloud. And I always go back to ShoreTel because this is the example that makes the most sense to me in my head. In this particular scenario, the on-site unified communication server, which is called the HQ server with ShoreTel, is connected into the cloud, and you can turn on and off these applications. So it makes a lot of sense. It's not a capital expenditure. It's not a large project. It's just basically turning on these features when they need it and delivering it. And if they leave and they don't want it, you turn it off. Again, so this is a lot of the infrastructure on site that's subscribing to cloud-based UC applications. Obviously, most of the time with this particular scenario, in this scenario, ShoreTel provides both the cloud-based services and the on-site hardware. As far as having, an Avaya or a Mitel or another on-site premise-based system and subscribing to other cloud-based and wanting to subscribe to, say, ShoreTel cloud-based applications, that would probably be a challenge. So again, another great example of how you can blend the two. So this is an interesting model. It's pretty popular and it's been around for a while. And in my experience, this model is oftentimes, it happens by accident. And the reason for this is because we're seeing this more and more. Different lines of business units are oftentimes responsible for different aspects of the communication technology. In this example, perhaps the IT staff is responsible for the phone systems. And then the marketing or the customer service people are responsible for the contact center or the call center. Unfortunately, in these situations, the latter often is the group that has the budget, right, and the attention of executives, because the contact center is usually the moneymaker or the lifeblood of the organization. So an example, we've had a customer, for whatever reason, had different brands of phone systems actually all under the same roof. Usually this is when you have different brands of phone systems at different sites, but this in particular customer had, I think it was a Tataran or some legacy old phone system, but they also had ShoreTel. And they were eventually going to replace the legacy system with ShoreTel, but in the meantime, they didn't have budget for that. In the meantime, they needed to roll out a very robust contact center. And what that was going to give them was an intense customer service center, because they just picked up a new government contract. And they needed to roll it out fast, right? They didn't have really the budget or the time to start replacing the technology and doing a refresh on the phone system. And so what we did here is we implemented a cloud contact center. And so for lack of a better term, I call it a cloud overlay, essentially. So again, let's say with this particular diagram, let's say I have a phone system an on-premise phone system at my corporate office. Maybe I have a Mitel at another office. I have an NEC at another office. Whatever the reason was. I didn't standardize on my procurement. Maybe we acquired these companies, so we've kind of got a mismatch of platforms. But then I take my main customer service numbers and I port them to my cloud contact center, which is represented by the cloud in the middle of your screen here. Now calls come into my cloud contact center, and I can deliver all kinds of enterprise-class contact center services like priority-based routing, skills-based routing, database integration. There's some caveats around the database integration piece. But I get all my advanced cloud contact center. I got a single pane of glass reporting from my supervisors. But then when I queue up calls and I deliver calls to agents, I just need to deliver that to an agent that's on can be reachable by a 10-digit number. For example, a DID on a legacy PBX, or a DID on a non-legacy unified communication system, or perhaps agents at home using soft phones, or agents at home using 10-digit landlines, or again, in a disaster recovery solution, your agents can't get into an office. They can just basically point and their agent extension to their cell phone, and now they can log in and take calls. And then everybody has a single unified tool for logging in and out and managing queues and reporting and things like that. So very nice. This is a really popular model. We're excited about this. We're doing a lot of work in this area. And then because there's also some benefits with cloud contact centers. For example, in this multi-site environment, let's say calls come in and you have agents, people that are capable of taking care of your customers at various locations. And calls come in, maybe I ring one office 3 times, 4 times, I can ring another office. I can ring back to my corporate call center. So you get a lot more flexibility here, and you can do it really on a subscription basis, on a monthly basis, and you can do it without doing a large technology refresh on your system. So cloud contact center overlay, nice. One last thing I'll mention about cloud contact centers is the ability for customers that are seasonal to meet the need. For example, we have a customer that sells One Kings Lane. They sell furniture, or we have another customer that sells a lot of shoes. So they want perhaps something that's more scalable, and they want to ramp up during busy times, and they want to ramp down during off-season times. And so a cloud contact center is a really good way to do that. It's not if you go with the right cloud contact center, it's definitely not the cheapest, but so you want to do a cost-benefit analysis. Sometimes delivering a premise-based solution for those makes the most sense, but again, we can help you navigate that stuff. Unified Communications is a service. So again, we actually brand one of our products called UCaaS. So this is a private cloud, and generally speaking, and this is our definition of it. You might talk to other providers and other areas that have different definitions of it. But the key characteristics of this is it's not owned by you. It's owned by us, or it's owned by your integrator, generally a regional integrator or a specialized integrator like Inflow. It's either on your network, it's on your provider's network, i.e. our data centers, or it's on both networks. And then I said generally people refer to that as a private cloud. And so what I mean by that is we have customers where we'll install a system at their site, and then they'll outsource the whole thing. We'll manage the whole thing for them. So basically, they just pay monthly and they rent it from us. Or let's say we put it in our data center and we provided a point-to-point connection to them. And again, it's private cloud. We own it, we manage it, we rent it to them. Or on both networks. Perhaps they want most of it on site, but they want a little bit in our data center so they could put backup dial tone or SIP trunks into our data center and maybe a spare call processor. So they rent those services from us in our data center, but maybe they pay capital. It's a capital expense, so they own what's on their site. So we can get pretty creative around that. Or the other way around, maybe they want it mostly in our data center and they want to pay monthly for it, but then they want to have that local survivable gateway should the connection between them and us go away. An ideal customer for Unified Communications is service. Generally, they like OpEx. Their CFO says, I don't want to do a capital outlay. I want an off-balance sheet transaction. I want to pay monthly. Great, no problem. We'll rent it to you. Sometimes they have carrier restrictions. Either they have long contracts. Generally, in an impending event, when you're moving into the cloud, you have to be out of contract on your dial tone, your PRI, your SIP trunk, things like that. On this particular scenario, or maybe you really like your carrier and you want to stay with them. You just want someone else to manage the relationship. That's a really good feature that can make you a good candidate for a private cloud. Application integration. You're not a one-size. Some cloud providers are kind of a one-size-fits-all. Like the example we talked about, they had their kind of homegrown on-site CRM system that had a SQL backend, and they wanted to integrate with that. Well, it would be very hard to go to a cloud provider and ask them to do that for a lot of different reasons that I'm not going to get into. So again, I want to pay monthly. I don't want to own it, but I have some of these more advanced needs. I have compliancy concerns like PCI compliancy and HIPAA and other things that are more conducive to an on-site system. But then again, it's fully managed and owned by somebody else. Contact center generally is a good on-site play, but maybe you want to again pay OpEx for that. And this is really a key feature, the service, right? If you're going to go to a CenturyLink or you're going to go to a large carrier and they have a hosted play, and generally, I don't care how good the salesperson are. We all know carriers aren't going to provide that white glove premium service that some people need to have. Some people have very simple needs, and an 8x8 solution or something like that can make a lot of sense for you. But people that have mission-critical business communication needs, have very unique needs, and they need an integrator that's a little more intimate, like an Inflow Communications, someone that's aligned with your business needs, someone that has a passion for service. You're not going to call an 800 number and get put on hold. You're going to talk to people that know you, care about you. But again, you also want the benefits of all the operating expense, not owned and managed by me, fully outsourced. So that's a very key point in a private cloud solution. We have some customers, like the example I gave you, they have an investment in data centers, private data centers, and infrastructure. They already have a network in place. I already have data centers. I already have this infrastructure that I've built and I've invested in for perhaps other applications that I want to leverage, but I don't want to own it. You're a great candidate for a private cloud solution. And again, you fully want to outsource your communication. You don't want to be in the business of managing phone systems. You want us to be in the business of managing your phone system. You just want to make sure it's done right, so you can go focus on other things like helping the business make money. Yeah, so in conclusion, I put one last slide up here for you. What do you do when your boss comes and wants you to replace your system? Hopefully this helps. We're here to support you. One of the mantras, like I said before, is to educate, 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 and try not to sell, because the selling happens as a result of taking good care of our customers and prospects. be on the lookout from correspondence from us. We're always putting out white papers. We're always going to be putting out webinar information, newsletters, admin training. For anybody that's on ShoreTel, we provide complimentary ShoreTel admin training and roadmap discussions every month. So our door is always open. We'd love to chat with you, myself or any one of my dedicated staff members can help you out. And in conclusion, my slide here, advances in technology, you have options, by the way. You don't have to be pigeonholed into one or the other. I guarantee you there probably is a hybrid solution that makes sense, or a full premise or a full cloud-based solution that makes sense. And again, the most important consideration is the integrator. And going into the integrator in October, we're doing a white paper and a webinar series on ways to pick a good integrator. And that's not pick Inflow, because not all customers are a good fit for us, and we're not a good fit for all customers. It depends on geography and needs and things like that. So I'm going to be putting a very unbiased, hopefully everything we do is fairly unbiased, white paper out on exactly how, what to do to pick a good integrator. Because we see fantastic technology get installed by bad integrators, and it's dismal, it's a failure. We see substandard technology, what we would consider, be installed by good integrators, and it's a success. Integrator is absolutely important. I don't care how you slice it. So there's my contact information. So again, my name's Travis Dillard. You can go to our website at www.inflowcom.com or www.inflowcommunications.com. There's my direct inward dial. Shoot me an email. If I can't get back to you, I'll definitely have one of our very capable staff members get back to you. But right away in all of it. And if you want to chat, pick my brain, pick any one of our brains, we're happy to do that. So really appreciate everybody's time today, and stay on the lookout for more stuff. We're going to be doing this is just in the beginning. We have a lot of really great educational content coming up. On that note, I'll bid everybody good well. Have a great day.